Hello, and welcome to another Brother Crypt video. Today, I wanted to talk about the psychology of cryptocurrency winners and losers. I'm creating this video based on a conversation I had. The conversation I had was recently with an old friend, and this friend got into cryptocurrency because of BitConnect, because I advised him to. I shared with him my story, my success, what had happened, and showed him, that he could make money in that space. Given the situation with BitConnect now, as it currently is, it's not really one of a negative, it's not really one of a positive one at the moment, which was similar to my experience, especially as I got in back in June last year. But nevertheless, we had a call, and I came away from that call just thinking that, some people, they really have psychologies of success, while some people, they really have one of skepticism, of fear, and failure, basically, in my opinion. So the reason I wanted to create this video after our discussion was to just get my point across in a dialogue and to help others really determine if they have the stomach to succeed in cryptocurrency, if they're really prepared to look at this for the long haul, or if they're just in and out, playing with the market, following the herd, and just looking to really make some quick gains. So firstly, my opinion of cryptocurrency right now on February the 5th is that cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin, including Ethereum, and at one point BitConnect, was and is a technology of the future. But it's already here, and it's already causing disruption and disintermediation. So why I say it's a technology of the future is because a lot of the heavyweights that are implementing blockchain projects on an ambitious nature, they are far away from actually producing some of their deliverables and some of their goods which are in line with their white paper and how they've discussed their expectations. However, I mean by saying it's already here and it's causing disruption because I can send a payment, or I can send a store of value to somebody else anywhere in the world, for a low fee, if not any fee at all, to somebody else without a third party. That's unheard of. So with Bitcoin, I can send it anybody in the world that has a Bitcoin address. I'll pay a fee. It might take a little while, but it will get there, and it will be a store of value, or maybe even for a payment. And that technology, in my opinion, wasn't around before 2009, before Bitcoin was invented. So even just on the fundamentals, Bitcoin is advanced, and it is already here, so we can do that. I have recently, not recently, but since last year, June, I have had a 10x card. And although the 10x card right now has been cancelled because of the third party relationship, that with Visa, back last year I was able to use that card, and I was able to facilitate transactions without any fees, without any international fees, having used my card somewhere else. So that to me are just basic use cases and examples of how I'm able to utilize blockchain technology and how it's made my life more empowering, just at a very basic level. And yes, it's causing disintermediation, it's causing disruption, because I no longer have to rely on third parties, or third parties don't get the same cut that they used to get off me just because I was caught up in different situations, i.e., being abroad, away from my domicile, but being abroad. Therefore, with the card, I'd have to pay international fees. However, um, without the 10x card now, if I use my normal card, I'll have to pay those fees. But with the 10x card, I didn't have to. So those are just, basic examples. Excuse me, going around in circles. Let me just get to the point. But, over our call, what was discussed was that, oh yeah, cryptocurrency is a premature market. Cryptocurrency is not ready. Deep down, I always sort of knew that BitConnect was a scam. Um, and what was said to me was that, I thought some of the brightest people would know better. Um, and then later on in the conversation, it was followed up by, oh, not having a go at you or not talking about you. And yeah, just hearing this sort of infuriated me a little bit, because the reason I got other people into cryptocurrency was because I truly believe that we are on a precipice of revolution, of huge amounts of change. So the question is, when are you going to get into cryptocurrency? You're either better off getting into it now or later, but at some point, in my opinion, you're going to have to get into it. So why don't you do what you can now to learn as much as you can and immerse yourself at your will? If you wish to make profit, if you want to make money, there are solutions for that. If you just want to read and learn about the blockchain, you can do that too. But it's better you start now than later, okay? Because we're in the early adopter phase, and I consider myself an early adopter. I'm not knee deep in the game. I'm not, you know, I'm not somebody that is maybe has a very big presence, but I am immersing myself into this and I want other people to as well. So I think, yes, I will admit, especially the way that things are now with BitConnect, it could be viewed as a mistake. However, my opinion is I did not lose, and I do not believe everything that everybody is saying right now. I'm not defending it. I think that the decision that they made and how they 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 sort of came to where we are now was not the best option, but I do see reasons why it may have got to that point. But nevertheless, with that said, um, I just feel that some people, they don't have the perspective, they don't have the frame of mind to be able to look at things. So, for example, in my opinion, it's very clear that markets are manipulated. You know, um, if we look at gold, I have been hearing that for the last 5 years, gold has been manipulated. This article right now shows that, you know, um, banks such as UBS, HSBC, and Deutsche Bank will find millions for gold price manipulation. So, if we're looking at other asset classes as well, we also have real estate. Gold is looked at probably as a commodity. Real estate is also looked at as an asset. You have your bonds, which pay you a dividend, a fixed amount every month. You can invest in stocks in the form of equities in companies. So there are different types of asset classes. But are we not saying that these asset classes are not manipulated? I live in London and I invest into property as well. But recently, a neighbor of mine moved out, and they told me how much their property sold for, which is very similar to mine. And when I heard the price, I was shocked, because the place that we've been here for about 6 years. We bought it, and in 6 years, the property has doubled. So, even as a property investor who regularly buys property, when I heard this, I was shocked, because I was just thinking, wow, all of that time's passed, and then the price has doubled in only 6 years. That's ridiculous. But when I look at the property market here in the UK and even globally, I just came back from America recently, and the property market in America has also increased at a rapid pace, especially places such as California. So when I check what are the causes of these increases in property, I have to say that it's market manipulation. Because when we have interest rates which are very low and artificially sort of held back and controlled, by the Fed and central banks, then savers are not really rewarded. But then how does money come into circulation from properties? By banks and banking agencies that have the abilities to license mortgages. And where did these mortgages come from? In most cases, it's created out of thin air. It's an issued debt. And the bank will happily give anybody that's creditworthy the money for them to buy a property if they can afford to maintain the payments for a certain amount of time. The banks will happily do this. So, to cut a long story short, property prices are being manipulated, and this is why we have a high cost of living. So, referring back to the crypto market, one of the things that was said, oh, the cryptocurrency is a premature market. Yes, it is. I agree with that. The cryptocurrency is also manipulated. Yes, it is. You do have whales coming in there and doing pumps and dumps and increasing the prices. It's not really something I'm happy with, but it happens. But at the same time, you also have retail investors like myself, or maybe even technology evangelists, or people that see potential and people that want to speculate. Yes, we have that too. But you have those people buying into the projects because they see value in it, and they see the potential of that value perhaps increasing over a certain period of time. I guess why I'm looking at this diagram of asset classes right now is because, with what was said about crypto, that the market is premature. I agree with that. It is a little bit premature. A lot of the top chains have not fully realized their roadmap or their project vision. And, some blockchains like Ethereum are having problems with CryptoKitties. Bitcoin is not necessarily scalable. It can't be used as a replacement for a Visa debit card, not on its blockchains. It can't do that many transactions right now. But is the potential there for it to be there? Yes. So this is why we see value in it, because it's there. It's completely decentralized. That's value. So if I want to put my money into Bitcoin, or I'm recommended that perhaps you should, then it's based on the same principles as we see with other asset classes. Why do people buy real estate? Because you need a home, or because you want to rent out your home and make a cash flow from it. Why do people get government bonds? Because they want a fixed income every month, and the bonds seem like a secure way of getting that income. However, bonds are also exposed to volatility, and they're also exposed to, flattening or not holding their values. ask people in Greece how much their government bonds are worth right now. So with these things said, we can go back and forth and we can have arguments about who's right, who's wrong, what's right, what's the opposite to this point I'm making. I don't really want to hear all of that. You know, my perspective with cryptocurrency is this is the future. This gives people a real chance of balance. There are going to be applications in the future which are able to give people back their power, which wasn't there. We have the opportunity to live in immutable truth globally, like no centralized records, records not being updated, not being changed. We can just live in the truth. With the blockchain, these assets, these properties are owned by this person and it's not questionable anymore. If things are done rightly. We also have the opportunity to get in some ways, in the digital rush 2.0. The internet rush, obviously, with companies like Facebook and Google and Amazon, Netscape back in the day, MySpace even. If you got into those companies as an investor and you saw that there was promise in the project, then you would come away being financially empowered, financially better off. I think that's an element as well with cryptocurrencies. If you get into the right cryptocurrencies and you buy some of their coins at the right price early on, you do have a potential to boom. So I look at cryptocurrency with the mindset that everybody wants to better themselves financially. So yes, with this you're taking risks, but if you learn and if you apply what you've learned and you take risks and you're calculated and you're in this for the long term, you will not fail. You will probably be wealthy if you invest consistently into what you're doing. Because this is why I created this video. What is the psychology of winning? I've been speaking a little bit about losing and what I think about the opinion of the conversation I had, but for me to be successful in what I've decided to do, which was to be a property investor, I used to do a job like everybody else. I worked very hard. I was in IT as a software test manager for many financial institutions. Then I became a contractor, and then I became a consultant, and then I worked independently. And then after that, I decided that I wanted to work for myself. The money I got paid was good, but I didn't necessarily want to be in those environments. And I thought it would be to my betterment, enable me to be more successful, enable me to be happier in life if I was to create my own business. And then that's how I learned to get into property investing. However, before getting into property investing, I've always wanted to make my financial future more certain. And so this is why I came across education about money. So this is basically going back to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was one of the books about money and business and how to be rich, basically, in a crude sort of term. Reading that book left a life-changing impression of me, and I was able to see the mistakes I was making before with crystal clarity when I was in, and before that, I wasn't able to see that crystal clearly. So, for example, Robert Kiyosaki basically talks about how rich people invest in assets, things that will generate them income, and poor people work for money. Poor people always exchange their time for money. even if you are doing a higher paying job, like lots of people in my circle, even perhaps this individual, if you're doing a well paid job, in some ways you are still very close to poverty. The likelihood is that you don't own any assets. The likelihood is that you're always dependent on your employer. So if you don't invest wisely, then you will always be in that situation that you find yourself in, having to work, having to get a job, having to pay your income. With cryptocurrency, I truly believe that this can liberate people, for them to either invest, for them to be early adopters. There are so many things that you can do in this space. You know, people write professionally on Steam, post their articles, and then they get paid. People are earning good money off doing that, and that's just really at the basic end. Or you can take it up a notch and have your own YouTube channel, you know, way better than mine, way successful, and you can educate people, or you can bring insight into the industry. But for you to succeed, and for you to succeed at anything in life, you need to have a business professional winning mindset. So what does a winning psychology do? A winning psychology has the right sort of temperament to understand and assess the difference between fear or information that will benefit them, that will enrich them. And then, so how do you get these things? Because yesterday, all I was hearing was sound bites sworn off from mainstream media news. Oh, cryptocurrency market is not ready yet. Oh, it's premature. Oh, there's going to be government regulation. You know, all of that is what your common journalist that works for the Sun is going to be saying. Those are the types of things that they're going to be spewing. So how does that empower you? Are there any facts there? What, because there's some expert who works in the city of London for a bank or a hedge fund, how involved in cryptocurrency are they? How are they speaking from their experience what's going to benefit you? So basically, be careful who you listen to. So for me to be successful in property, I had to learn from other people that were successful. Yes, I did a course. Yes, I paid thousands of pounds. At the time, it seemed expensive. Looking back now, it was cheap because it gave me a solid foundation of what I didn't know, for me to be able to deal with the whole life cycle of purchasing investment properties, and how to manage those properties as well, and how to deal with the regulation, and how to talk to estate agents, and how to calculate things like net yield. It gave me the basics, just the fundamentals, so I knew what I was doing. Because the other option would be for me to blindly buy a property without no sort of metrics, without no criteria, and then believe that I was going to be successful. So looking back now, if I can afford to either pay for the information and it's from a good source, then that's a better investment. And in some ways, this is slightly what I wanted to do. Because I was involved in cryptocurrency, and because I was getting good results, I wanted to tell everybody that I liked, closest and nearest and dearest to me, so they could use it to also improve their lives. So that's why I told them about cryptocurrency. That's why I recommended BitConnect, because they were able to then use it for other things. You know, the purpose was always to invest in that platform, generate income, make our money back, and whilst we're making our money back, divest it into other cryptos. So to use it as a cash flow vehicle. So yes, that failed. Yes, the market is going down, but the fundamentals haven't changed. Have you learned anything about the fundamentals? It doesn't necessarily feel like it, because when I was talking to them, they just seemed argumentative in tone when I was speaking. And looking back now, this person, they don't really show up for the group meetings, or they get the dates wrong, or they don't necessarily participate that much in our group chat. And I'm not holding that against them, but from my perspective, I haven't seen any effort to really learn what I have been sharing based on my experience. And then instead, you're coming to me with mainstream news options of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, like I'm meant to believe what those journalists say. And then on top of that, when I'm speaking to them about opportunities, ICOs, what's going on, they haven't really done or shown any signs of conducting any independent research for them to say, oh yeah, I've looked into this and I heard about this and this is going to be getting good. Well, I'm just getting negative sound bites regurgitated to me. And that just made me feel like the person really didn't know, after us being involved in cryptocurrency together, they don't really know about any underlying fundamentals, you know, and they probably think that if they had bought Bitcoin in 2011, that they would be set, they would have been a millionaire. But then way back then, if you had the information, right, that most people had in 2011 to buy Bitcoin, you would have deserved it. Yes, you do hear about news stories where some people, they just take a punt. A friend told them to buy some Bitcoin and then they bought it and they didn't know anything about it and then they made millions. Yes, that does happen. But the majority of millionaires were probably people who were in that space. Probably people who were in computing or knew about IT, or were closely affiliated with people in the cypherpunk movements, or people who were like anarchists, or people in the dark web. Nothing comes around, just accidentally. So those people who made their money in the space in 2011 deserved it because they were at the right place at the right time and they took the right actions. But what I'm saying is, if you had that mindset then, you would probably still have that today. So you would still be successful. However, the psychology of failure is just telling me that they're putting off excuses and not taking any responsibilities. In some way, it's kind of defeatist. Like, oh, I've got burned. That's it. Oh, I'm not ready. Oh, I'm not doing that again. Oh, I'm gonna leave it. Like this space is not ready. Fair enough. If that's your opinion, then yes, you should be joining the masses of everybody that's selling their assets right now, because other people will buy it. And I guess I'm speaking from experience because I'm patient, but and I made this video so that people really consider psychologies of a winner and psychologies of a loser, because my opinion is that no matter what asset class you're dealing with, there are going to be fundamentals which you need to know about the product, but there's also a certain characteristic that you need to have for you to be successful, which means you need to show that you're hungry, which means you need to read, you need to do research, you need to educate, you need to keep yourself informed, you need to learn. And one way you can do that is by participating. Because at the end of the day, I'm not your financial advisor. There, I said it. But I'm putting you onto the game so that you use that information as your ground floor, as your fundamentals. You use that as the bottom. Whatever I'm doing, you use that as the bottom. And then you build on it. You have to. Because just because of the price of something, is up or down and it's due to market forces, yes, it's volatile, and there are individuals that do these pumps and dumps, but overall, we are moving forward, even in this downtrend. Because what? It's February the 5th or 6th today, and Bitcoin was probably worth about $1,000 to $2,000 in February. Not up to there. At the beginning of 2017, it was $700. Yeah. So 2018, and it's gone down 20% in one day with a price of $7,700. Yes, it's down. But then, if you bought in at 20K and you believe that your investment was sound, you should have calculated, even if it goes down, is it still going to be valuable? And the answer is yes. I know it's hard to lose on to, and I know it's hard to hold, but this is taking responsibilities, for your actions, for your risk. Because if I had picked up Bitcoin at its height, which I actually did back in 2013, I believe I picked up some Bitcoin for like £300, and that was at the height right then. But I always had a long-term perspective to hold it. Because, you buying up coins, you buying Bitcoin, and you buying Stellar because you think that's hot, and then you buying this coin, and then you changing it. Yes, you can do all of that hopping, but to me, that's speculation. And whilst this is a speculative environment, you know, we're doing work over here. We're basing our picks, our cryptos, our portfolios on due diligence and research for specific functions. You know, I invest in a cryptocurrency like TAS because TAS will give me regular quarterly dividend. So I invest in that because I seek to get cash back. To me, it works as a property. You know, there are so many other cryptocurrencies. That I was telling this person over the phone, which if you do your research, they will have particular functions, and you can generate cash flow for them. I talk about that all of the time. So yeah, let me just wrap this up. Maybe this hasn't been as coherent as to the point as I would like. Yes, it's a little bit of a rant, but there are clearly differences between the psychology of winning and one of losing. Because even if we take an L, even if things aren't right with a platform that we may have been into, that's not the end of the game. You know, yeah, we were disappointed because we lost out on future expectations. People lost some money, but some people had been making money for the whole year. Like, if you put 10 grand in and then you got your 10 grand back and then you made another 30 grand, obviously your opinion might be different to somebody who put in 100 grand a month before they went down and only made back 30,000 and lost 70,000. Yeah, your opinion's going to be different. I understand that. But it's how you deal with your loss afterwards, which is going to define your character. Are you just going to retreat in surrender and say, "Ah, that's it. I've been burnt. There's nothing here to lose. It's all a fucking scam. This industry's shady. There's no other cryptos. It's not ready." Or are you gonna think, "Oh, okay, I took an L here. Perhaps I shouldn't have gone into that one. Perhaps my strategy should be me to withdraw my cash out sooner. Let me look at some of these other cryptocurrencies. I think Ethereum might be good because I can use that for ICOs. Oh, I've heard about Neo, and it looks like Neo, they're building, some form of architecture. There are going to be lots of ICOs coming out on the platform. Oh, Neo's really big in Asia. Yeah, I think that might have the potential. That's the mindset of a winner, you know. So let me just leave you with this final analogy, because hopefully the analogy will give you, a little bit of insight rather than me specifically listing um, everything one by one. But, in things like property, and I talk about property because it's my introduction and immersion into the world of finance, and especially controlling my finances and how I view things and how I assess things. So with property, it's always good to go for properties that have good cash flow, net yields. So even before I decide to view a property, I'm asking agents questions like, what's the service charge, or is there any ground rent, or what's the expected sort of rent in the area? Are there any maintenance fees? Are there any yearly fees on top of those? What's the council tax? So I can do my due diligence on numbers. If that property is not going to have a yield, which I'm anticipating, i.e., a monthly return based on a percentage and in a cash equivalent in my net profit, I'm not looking at that property because it's a waste of my time. But what would a novice do? A novice will see that property on Rightmove. They'll say, "Oh yeah, that looks nice. Oh yeah, that's in a great area." And then they will go and view that property, and they would say, "Oh, I'd like to live here. Oh yeah, I'm gonna buy it." Because they're coming in with their emotion. You know, you need to remove your emotion from this. That's why when the market goes down 20%, yeah, it hurts, but we're not selling. Yeah, it hurts, but we're looking to buy some. Let me get some cash together so I can send some money to CoinFloor because I'm looking to get some more. That's you see, those are the differences. So yeah, excuse this video, fam. I hope it made you think about the different psychologies, given my spin, given my take on things. And yeah, if you've got any questions, just hit me up. Thank you for watching the videos, guys. Take care. Peace.